If you're planning to build a set of cabinets, a kitchen cabinets, or maybe you're going to build a dresser, and you want to use the Blum Tandem Drawer slide, then this video is going to have some interesting points for you. The Tandem Drawer slide is made up of two broad categories. That is drawer slides that can be used with material that is 5/8 of an inch thick, material that's here, the drawer side, that is from 1/2 to 5/8 inch thick. That's one. And the other one is a drawer side material that is 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch thick. That is the two broad categories. Then under each, you have the 100-pound classification and the 150-pound classification. I have a chart here that you can look at that shows those the selection of slides that's available under each broad category. And so you can take a look at that, and I'll post it at the end of the video so you can take a look at it again. Be aware of this. In the 100-pound category, you can use a rear mounting socket like this. Or in the 100-pound category, you can also side mount with the drawer slides. So 100-pound category, you can use the rear mounting socket or you can side mount. The 150-pound category is side mount only. You cannot use rear mounting sockets in the 150-pound category. Here's something that I really appreciate about this broad range of products. The only difference in these boxes will be whatever length you choose, of course. And if you choose the 5/8 inch selection of drawer slides, then your drawer box width here inside of your box is going to be a little bit different than if you choose the category where this material is 3/4 of an inch. Your drawer box width is going to be a little different. Every other detail in the construction of the tandem drawer slide is the same, no matter which drawer slide you select. So let's get started with some of the details of building a drawer box for a cabinet that you have, that you want those things in. The video is not going to tell you how to build the cabinet. This video is going to tell you how to build a box like this that works on a set of drawer runners like this. If you decide to build a cabinet, you can build your cabinet with a face frame on the front, or you can build it without. Either way, the Blum Tandem works just great. Well, if you decide to build with a face frame, then there's a good chance you're going to want to use the rear mounting brackets. It's not totally necessary to use the rear mounting brackets because you can do what some cabinet builders do, and they block out to make it possible for them to side mount these cabinet members into the cabinet. Another thing that you will have to use when you build the cabinets, whether you're doing face frame or box style cabinet, either one, you're going to have to use these locking devices, or triggers as some people call them. They go under the box and lock this drawer slide to the cabinet. So in this video then, we're building a box like this that will sit on top of a set of drawer runners like that. Let's talk about the components of the drawer, or the components that make up the drawer. There is a drawer front. We call this the subfront. Now the other part that we looked at was the actual drawer front. We're not making that in this video. We are making the subfront. The drawer front attaches to the subfront. So we have a subfront. We have a drawer back, and we have the drawer sides. As far as the length of the slides are concerned, you can build your drawer at a 9-inch length from front to back. You'd order a drawer slide like that. Or you can go 12 and 15, 18, 21, 24, all the way up to 30 inches. It's possible to make a box that long for your cabinet that you're building. That's for length. Now what about the width? Well, you can go quite wide. I built a set of cabinets that are 28 inches wide, and I really like them. I would say most of the time people are in the drawer bottom, they're putting 1/4 inch material. I put in 1/2 inch Because I'm building wide boxes, I wanted it to be a little more substantial in the bottom of the box. I mean, you can use 1/4 inch or 3/8 or 1/2 inch in the bottom. How high can you make the box? That is, how high can you make the box, like from here to here? Well, pretty much anything you want. Depends on what you're putting in, pots and pans or cereal boxes or whatever's going in the box. You can make it any height. The drawer side height can be whatever you want it to be. But there is a clearance consideration. The manufacturer wants you to allow a little over 3/4 of an inch. I recommend a whole inch. 21 millimeters is the exact figure, 13/16 of an inch. But there is that clearance requirement. There's a little room needed under the box and a little room needed over the box. Let's flip this over and see what's going on under the box. So I actually flipped it over and spun it around. This is our subfront here, and this is our drawer back. This information that I'm giving you right now, it applies throughout the entire line of tandem drawer slides. 563, the F series or the H series, whatever drawer slide you're going to buy in the tandem series, the information I'm giving you applies to all of them. The requirement here, under the box, the space that's needed from the bottom of the drawer side to the bottom of the box is 1/2 of an inch. So you need 1/2 of an inch here. That's a space requirement. So let's take a look at the drawer, the locking devices and how they fit into the bottom of the drawer. So your locking device goes in like this under the drawer box. And so you can understand why we're going to need to have a 1/2 inch space under there. It takes a little space to accommodate these locking devices. Once they're in, then you can drill holes into your subfront and secure the locking devices in place. My recommendation is that you always pre-drill the hole if you're drilling into the subfront in order to prevent the subfront from cracking. So Blum has this really nice drilling template, so you can set that in place and then drill in these hole locations with a bit so that you can pre-drill for that front locking device. I recommend that you do that. So these would be put in their location and screwed into place. Here's another thing, just to throw this one on you. When I use a 1/2 inch bottom, I have an advantage because I can drill, instead of going at an angle into the subfront, I can go straight down into the box because I'm using material thicker than 1/4 of an inch. Hopefully you can see those provisions, the holes, so that you can drill straight down in to the locking device and secure it to the bottom of the box. There, that's the locking device on the bottom. The next thing is the notch. That needs to be 35 millimeters minimum in order to get the slide on there and to sit in there properly. 35 millimeter notch here on each side. That's the minimum width of that notch. You can take more off if you want. You can take this all off if you want. I like to leave a little bit because it helps to support the bottom of the box. And finally, the hole in the back of the box. How do you locate this hole correctly in this box? Take a look at the drawer slide right now and look at the back of the slide here. As you can see, there is a notch, not a notch, there's a hook in the back of the drawer slide. That hook needs to engage in this hole. So it has to be located correctly if that hook is going to engage in the hole here. Here again is why the drilling template is so helpful. You can try to measure and get the exact measurements that you need, but the template's the answer. We can simply put the template on, hold it in place, and then use a drill bit and drill the hole, and it'll be exactly in the correct location. One of these on each side of the drawer box in the bottom like that. Then when we slide the tandem drawer runner on here, it'll lock into place and the hook will go into the hole. Let's take a look at that. So this is the runner. It needs to fit in the notch. This portion of the runner right here needs to sit up against this. That's an important thing. So just so it gets up against there. That's why it has to have that hole and this locking device. Now listen to it when she locks into place. That's pretty nice, ain't it? So we can do that with both pieces now because we have our locking devices in, the notch is drilled, the hole is drilled, or the notch is cut, and the hole is drilled, and we put our other slide on, drop it into the notch, and slide her into location. Now, that's all it takes to put a tandem drawer box, or to create a tandem drawer box that'll work with the tandem drawer slides. Another thing we need to think about, is it a side mount or a rear mount? Now in this illustration right here, you're looking at side mounting the cabinets. That's where you put the cabinets, one on the left and one on the right, and make sure it's level, and then put screws in it. It's side mounted. A rear mount, for example, in this picture, you slide it on a rear mounting bracket, rest the thing on the rear mounting bracket, and then put a screw in the face frame on the front. That's using a rear mounting bracket. So there's a couple of considerations. Drawer front, drawer side and sub front thickness. Let's talk about that briefly. Here is the drawer side. If you're building a cabinet, or a drawer box, to fit on the tandem drawer slide, and you use 3/4 inch here, my recommendation is to use 3/4 of an inch all the way around when you build your cabinet. And the same thing is true if it's 5/8 of an inch. If you use 5/8 of an inch material on the sides of your drawer box, then use 5/8 on the back and on the front. Primarily this comes into play when you're doing inset drawers, because the setback for your drawer slide is affected by the thickness of the subfront in your cabinet. So same thickness all the way around when you're building the box. Drawer box length. So this is not a part of the drawer box. This is the drawer front. And so we'll just move that out of the way. And so here is the drawer box that you're building. What is the length of the drawer box? How do you determine how long to build this box? Well, in the case that we're looking at right here, this is a tandem 563H 5330. It's a 21-inch drawer slide. So if you buy a drawer slide that's 21 inches long, you order it that way, that means that the box, this box, from the outside of the front to the outside of the back is 21 inches. No matter what you buy, whatever the length of that slide is, it's you build your box if it's from the outside of the front to the outside of the back. Now the runner length is something else again. So when you build the box, you set it on your runner. And here is an example of what you have. So your drawer runner is longer than your drawer box. And so you have to allow room in the back of your cabinet so it'll fit. I recommend 1 inch. You can get by with a tiny bit less, but you would be crowding it if you went less than allowing an entire inch. So if your drawer box is 21 inches and you're side mounting your cabinets, as we showed in this picture, then you should allow 1 inch of extra space. If you are going to use the rear mounting bracket to install your cabinets, and then how much space do you need? If you're able to slide the rear mounting bracket all the way on, like that, if you can slide it all the way on, then you only need 1 inch of extra space in the back of your cabinet. If you want to get it out here as far as you can, the maximum you would allow inside your box is 2 5/8 inches, and then you'd be able to make this work. If you go farther than 2 5/8 inches, you're not going to get the support you need from that rear mounting bracket. This drawer box sample, the one we're looking at right here, is making use of a rear mounting socket. The manufacturer recommends that you use 3 screws when mounting this rear mount socket. You would use the rear mount socket when you are not able to block out. Here's an example. When you block out like this, it makes it possible for you to side mount your drawer slide. Some people block out by running this piece of material up and down, one in the front and one in the back. Back to the rear mounting socket. It's a really substantial socket, and it's been redesigned so it's real solid. So you put the rear mounting socket in place, and it's the platform for the back of the drawer slide, which goes in like this. So you slide that onto the rear mount socket, and then screw into the face frame on the front. Simply put in your screw on your face frame. I want to make a quick comment on runner setback. When you're building your cabinets, if you're going to have an overlay drawer front on your cabinet, then you need a runner setback of 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. This is the runner setback. It's how far you set the runner back inside of the cabinet. If you have an inset drawer front, your runner setback is farther. At the outset of our video, we explained that there are 2 broad categories of drawer slides available from Blum in the Tandem series. One of those categories is when you are building drawer boxes that are 5/8 of an inch thick, where you have the sides of your boxes up to 5/8 of an inch thick. The other category of drawer slides available from Blum is where you build your drawer boxes with material up to 3/4 of an inch thick. So those are the 2 broad categories. How do you build the drawer box width for each of those categories? How do you calculate it? Let's take a look first of all at the category where you are building with 5/8 inch thick material on your drawer slides. Calculating the drawer box width. Here's the chart, and there's the listing of most of the products that are available if you're going to build with 5/8 inch material. The most common in that listing is the H series, but all of those will work if you're using 5/8 inch material. So here's how you calculate it. If your drawer slide material is 5/8 of an inch thick, then this is the calculation you will need to make in order to build this drawer box correctly. Measure the interior of your cabinet, the opening. Subtract 42 millimeters or 1.5 inches. That is the calculation for the inside of the drawer box that you're making. The other category is where you're building with a material up to 3/4 of an inch thick. Here's the listing of most of the products that are available in that series of drawer slides that are available from Blum. How wide do you build the box for that series of drawer slides? Calculating the drawer box width when you're building with the series of drawer slides that is using 3/4 inch material. How wide do you make the box when you're using the F series of drawer slides? You will need to measure what the interior is of your cabinet. What is the opening width here? Whatever that is, subtract 49 millimeters or 1.15 inches from this opening. That will tell you what the inside of the box is that you're building. Well, for both of these categories, the 5/8 inch grouping and the 3/4 inch grouping, I didn't give you the outside of the box. I gave you the inside of the box because that is the important calculation to make your drawer slide function properly. If you want to know what the outside of the box is, just add the thickness of your material here. That about wraps her up on this whole thing. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to be doing another video on the front locking devices that go under the box and on the rear mounting brackets, so there's 2 separate videos coming on that.